Hello, this is Derek Grimmel, the developer of the Queen vs. Rook database, and I'm here to talk about this endgame. We need to get some terminology and concepts in common before we start. So let's do a quick review of how far away from mate the attacking side is. On the board you see the worst kind of position to be in, where the attacking king is actually cornered or trapped in the edge of the board. When you're in a position like that, you as the attacker should estimate you're about 32 moves away from mate. That means that if you lose 18, the defender is probably going to reach a 50-move draw. By contrast, if the defender has both pieces in the center of the board, you're about 28 to 30 moves away from mate. This is still pretty bad, but it's not quite as hopeless as when you have your king trapped against the side of the board. When the attacker has 4 lines and the defender is down to 3 lines, we're looking at about 24 moves from mate. When the defender has been confined to a corner of the board, we're down to about 15 moves to mate. And now we need to classify 4 different types of defenses that the defender can adopt. The first type is a close defense. That's where the king and the rook are never more than a knight's move apart and usually touching each other. In other words, the king can defend the rook with 1 move. This is an example of a close defense position. Black on the move might very well play rook to c8 or rook to c7, that is, or king to c7, and maintain the close piece placement of this defense. A very different kind of defense is a distant defense, where the king and the rook separate to opposite sides of the board. This is actually safe and can work quite well, as long as you're aware of how to play it. The third basic kind of defense is a third-rank defense. And that's where the king and the rook are separated by 1 line, and the rook is functioning to cut off the attacking king from approaching any closer. This defense has gotten pretty well known, and the methods for breaking it are also pretty well known. And lastly, the last type of defense to take up is a harassment defense. The characteristic of this defense is that the rook hides on the diagonal of the attacking king, thereby making forks very difficult. The harassment defense in practice seems to be one of the 3 times when the attacker is most likely to lose several moves. So it's always good to play a harassment defense. All right, let's quickly review the Philidor position just so you understand how it works. I'm Derek Grimmel, and this is Queen vs. Rook endgame training. This is the Philidor position. We have the king sitting in this corner, that far from the corner. We have the rook and the opposing king there, and we have our queen here. That's the Philidor position. I've constructed it with white to move so you can see how to transfer the move. This is only losing with black on the move. All you do is you check like that. Obviously, black is not going to go here because it's an immediate mate. So the king goes to that line, check from the corner, back to the only square available, and return to the original square with black on the move. Now what you'll see is that on all of the yellow squares, the black rook is immediately lost. It didn't even occur to me to mark this square as an immediate loss. If the rook goes there, well, that's just mate. So from here, if the rook moves to this square or this square, it's immediately lost to a fork from here. And if it moves to this square, it's immediately lost to a fork from here. So the only safe squares are A7, C7, G3, and G1. In all of them, the very same pattern produces a quick win of the rook. So let's put the rook there. Check from d5. Once again, f8 is mined. It's an immediate mate. So that leaves that line. h8 is essentially the same thing. Check from there. Goes back where he was. Check from down here. And now there's going to be a fork from this square. King goes up, there's our fork. From this position, you'll see that if the defending king goes there, it just saves the queen one move. Go immediately to the corner. He has to move up a line. There's our fork. So the rook goes there, check from the center, give the other check from the center, and now no matter where he goes, you can go to the corner and pick up the rook. If the rook goes over here, well, you give the very same checks. Check here, and now you check there, and there you go. Same pattern. It's just one move quicker. If he goes there, you check from the very same square. He goes there, check there, he goes back, check there. Now what's he going to do? Well, if he goes to that line, you check there and you pick up the rook. Otherwise, if he goes there, you check there, and it's mate. And just for completeness, if he goes there, check from the center again. Check there. And now you have the same thing we had in the last one, only reflected. If he goes there, you have an immediate fork. And if he goes there, you have the immediate check here, block with the rook, and mate. So that's the Philidor position. It's one of the two endpoint positions in this endgame that you have to be familiar with. The other is the Javelin, on which I already had some videos. Otherwise, almost every other different position type in this endgame eventually reduces down to a Philidor position where you administer the killing procedure you've just seen.